I've loved the Universal monster since I was a kid. And one of the things that I think defines the Universal monsters as its own genre, really apart from horror films or slasher films, is that you were always both very scared of the monster and you sympathize with the monster. And they were these beautiful character movies. And I think all the monsters, from Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, they all yearned to be part of a society that rejected them. So there's a very relatable idea there. And when the studio came to me and said, would you like to do The Mummy, and broached the idea of doing a larger universe of monsters, I thought, well, it's so rare that you, in the studio context, get to be able to tell stories where the assumption is that the character is going to be broken and not necessarily going to be fixed, because if the character was fixed, they wouldn't be a monster anymore. We live in a world now where most movies are superhero movies, and I like superhero movies a lot, but I don't relate to them in the same way. And so the idea of being able to do this in this way for a modern audience with the scope and the scale of a movie like The Mummy was really exciting for me. I've only directed 2.
But it's difficult. It's more difficult.
It definitely. There's no question. It was just a very big movie. We shot it all around the world. We shot it in the deserts of Africa. We shot a plane crash sequence in real zero gravity in a plane that was actually going down. We built massive, massive sets. We traveled all over London and shot all over London. So logistically, there was a lot going on, but very rewarding, I think, for me. I loved the challenge of making the film, and I can only really judge these things as I would want to see them as an audience. So the idea of getting to make the kind of movie that I love is exciting. Well, I wanted to honor and respect the film that inspired me so much as a kid. When I saw the Karloff Mummy as a kid, I remember seeing him wake up for the first time and being really scared, and being very scared of how slowly his eyes moved, and the movement, and the beauty of the bandages, and the beauty of the makeup. And I thought, I want to take what I loved from that film and pay tribute to it, but also bring it to a new audience in a new way. There are shots in the original Karloff Mummy that are all about his eyes and the mummy's power to mesmerize, and that's all stuff that we took and really paid homage to in this. I stole some of those shots, and just put them in the film because they were so beautifully lit and memorable, and I think that to be able to do that same kind of look with Sophia felt like it was both original in a way and also harkened back to what I loved about the original Mummy movie. I don't think you'll ever find a single director who would answer no to that question. Every director I've ever spoken to only looks back at their films and goes, I wish I'd done everything differently. But no, I think, I'm very proud of the work that everybody did on the film. I mean, it was a very challenging film to make, and it was exciting for that reason. And of course, with the benefit of hindsight, as you look at movies, there's always things you wish you'd done differently. I think that's part of why learning and continuing to push yourself as you make other films is important, because if you think you did it perfectly, first of all, you're wrong, and second of all, there's always a better way. Well, we're starting the Dark Universe, which is a series of films that are really all the monster movies, all the classic Universal monster movies. I'd love to make a sequel to The Mummy. The next movie is going to be Bride of Frankenstein. Javier Bardem will be in it, playing Frankenstein's monster, and it's going to be directed by Bill Condon, who did one of my favorite films, Gods and Monsters, which is about James Whale and the creation of the Frankenstein film and Bride of Frankenstein, and I can't think of anybody better to make that movie. It's like asking me to pick my favorite child. I love all of them. I mean, I love that we're doing Bride of Frankenstein next. I think Creature from the Black Lagoon has tremendous possibility. Creature from the Black Lagoon, if you look at it, was really the first sort of action horror film, like globe-trotting action horror film, and that excites me. I think Van Helsing and Dracula have a very interesting story to tell that hasn't been told. Wolfman is another very interesting story. I think the idea is with all these films is to say, how do we go back to the origins of these characters and not betray what came before, but add something new to them?